So I want to start with this Kamala Harris and play the clip again. And again, in a very credible way, and I mean this sincerely, in a very credible way, the White House has come out and said she meant pollution, not population. And that is probably true. So listen to this.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
Okay. I think you could make the case with all of the things that we point out in Dark Future that she may have meant pollution in this speech, but they actually do intend on reducing the population. And I say that because only a moron would think that you could cut out the traditions of farming, go to an entirely new system of farming from seed to table, and exclude fertilizer and expect people not to starve. I'm telling you, billions of people are at risk because of what they're doing with food. Now add energy. When you have energy and you are getting rid of all of your fossil fuels and you don't have anything to replace it, and what you do have to replace it is nuclear power plants, and you're shutting those down, and you're shutting down and dismantling your coal-fired plants, people are going to freeze to death. It's true. Now, let me ask you, for anyone who is upset at me saying, it might be correct that she meant pollution, but when she said reduce population, that also does reduce all of our CO2s. You have a smaller footprint if you have smaller human population. If you're really upset about that, then help me out on two stories. Canadian man claims he was fired from his job as a fuel supplier when he helped rescue a desperate moose calf from a potential black bear attack. Mark Skage, he worked for AFD Petroleum. He was driving back from a job site when he saw an abandoned moose wandering on the side of the road in British Columbia. He pulled over, hopped out of his vehicle. The calf attempted to climb into his truck. As he noticed, a bear was stalking this animal was just a few days old. There was a black bear 50 yards away just waiting. I made the decision at the time, she kept trying to climb into my work truck, that I just couldn't leave her there, so I stuck her in the passenger side and drove her to town to get her some help. Canadian man said he was fired from his job because he saved the moose calf. His decision to bring the calf in his truck came from his background as an outdoorsman. He knew what he was doing was against the law. I just couldn't do it in my heart. People can say all they want, but I know as an outdoorsman, we talk about predator control. Black bears are the number one predator for those calves. So I just thought, well, I can't take care of the predator, but maybe I can try to help out this one little calf. So it's against the law. It's against the law. Why is it against the law to get rid of the predators? Because if you get rid of the predators, then the prey has overpopulation. You want to make sure there's no overpopulation. Now, they care deeply about the bear, and they care deeply about the balance. Well, then maybe isn't this the same thing? Also from Canada, Toronto, the 47-year-old that wrestled with an eating disorder, anorexia, for decades, says she has a warped relationship with her body since age 8. These days, she weighs 92 pounds and may go days without eating solid food. She says she is too weak to carry groceries home without stopping for breaks. Every day is hell, she says. I'm so tired. I'm done. I've tried everything. I feel like I've lived my life. An expansion of the criteria for medically assisted death comes into force in March 2024, will allow Canadians like Polly, whose sole underlying condition is mental illness, to choose medically assisted death. Canada legalized assisted death in 2016 for people with terminal illness and then expanded it to 2021 with people with incurable but not terminal conditions. The legal change participated by a court ruling that struck down prohibitions on helping people die. The new mental health provision will make Canada one of the most expansive countries in the world when it comes to medical assistance in dying. Proponents of assisted death which is still a novel concept in many parts of the world, says it's an issue of personal autonomy. But 6 disability rights and religious advocates told Reuters that the pace of the planned changes to the assisted death framework in Canada brings additional risks of people opting for MAID, medical assistance in dying, MAID, because they're unable to access social services, the lack which could exacerbate their suffering. So are we reducing the population? We're not. I mean, we got to make sure that we keep that herd reduced, in Canada. You don't want to get rid of the predators. Why? Because the ranchers, the rangers, they know, even if it is compassionate, you cannot save that calf from being eaten by the bear because life goes on. It must. The survival of the fittest is important. Isn't that the same with MAID? The survival of the fittest? Except this time it's done with compassion. Look, they can't make their way. They're unhappy. They're a burden on the rest of society. I mean, they die out anyway. Shouldn't we just help them along? Maybe that's me, but that's the way I read all of these. And I read them this way in a way that I probably wouldn't have 20 years ago. But I read them that way because I never thought the world would go back and start looking at the values and the principles that set the entire world on fire back in the 1930s. These crazy Marxist, communist, fascistic goals where man has become God and man can tell the farmer exactly how to farm. They're experts, even though they've never had their hands in the soil like they have. They can't manage the farm from Moscow because they're not even anywhere close to it. Yet that's what we're doing with our farmers. I never thought we'd turn back to a time where experimental surgery that permanently mutilates children like they did in the 1930s and 40s, I never thought that the medical associations of America would do that. I really thought in America they had learned first from their mass sterilization on picking which people should be allowed to marry and to breed. That's why you have a marriage license, right? That was a progressive thing to make sure that we licensed people because you just didn't want any of your cattle breeding with any other cattle. That's why you have a blood test. We've got to make sure. Technology is just catching up with this insane eugenics idea. So I just never saw it coming. But now that I know, and I know because I did my homework and I put it in the book Dark Future, now that I know, when I see something like the 47-year-old that's 92 pounds and they're offering now MAID, medical assistance in dying, I wonder if this isn't the same old, same old. And when I see that a man goes to jail for having the compassion to put a bull moose, a baby, into his truck so it's not eaten by a bear, I mean, I understand the predator thing. But when I see that the same people that are supposedly saying, let's kill them for compassion, they're really all about the survival of the fittest. I wonder if Kamala Harris wasn't actually telling the truth, whether she knows it or not, that we are looking at a reduction of the population.